Everybody, I hope you're having a good evening. Welcome to American Gladio on Bold Like a Leopard. My name is Ramon. I want to welcome Carlos Cordova back. Last time we were talking about Afghanistan. That seems like years ago. I was telling him off air. Say hi, Carlos.
Hello.
I wanted to say that next week I'm trying to organize an interview with somebody about the trial of the former president of Brazil, Lula.
Yeah.
It's a topic that most people in America don't care about, but it's very interesting because we have a president that people want to put on trial too. So I guess there's a little nexus there. Today we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
talk. Yeah. Well, over there they're actually doing it, but we're talking about DACA today. I put out a video earlier saying that most of the people that are angry about DACA really don't have any understanding about the fact that it was an ad hoc policy, not really well constructed. Um, they sort of are reacting reflexively. Carlos is somebody you've immigrated here, but you're not under the DACA program, if I'm not mistaken. But um, what's your
Right.
position? Do you think it's really a good idea to cancel a temporary program like this when there are 800,000 people that are kind of in limbo because of it?
Um. Well, I don't think it's gonna. I honestly, well, you never. Based on his previous speeches, you can see that he has said, I think twice, that he's not interested in DACA, kind of taking pulling the plug on DACA. He talked about, oh, the children. I don't wanna, the children. That's where my heart is. He's stuck. He gets a little sentimental about it when he talks about DACA. So see, I think we saw yesterday. Um, we'll see how it goes. I don't think happen, but anyways, who knows? Back to your question. You know, it's crazy. I mean, but it's I don't think it's a good idea to just pull the plug of it. I think we just need a reform. We just need to make, like you said, a better approach to immigration, a legalized approach to immigration instead of a presidential decree. I think we should get together with Congress and Senate and actually draft a legislation proposal for these kids and for the people that are here for different reasons, and actually just have it as a law instead of a decree where we just have somebody come in and do things by decree. I think it's a good idea. Just like pull the plug out of uh, the Affordable Care Act. I don't like the Affordable Care Act, but I don't think. But at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea just to pull the plug of it. You have to come up with some type of better idea. Just propose something. Okay, just don't pull the plug. Just propose something, and then we move forward as a country. Otherwise we just have whenever a different president party comes on, it's just going to start overriding whatever the other party did because we were just talking about presidential decrees. So again, I mean, this is the muddy part. This is the hard part of politics, right? The hard part of lawmaking, where you're making the sausage, right? Get together and draft a proposal. I think right now it's just pulling the plug is not a good idea.
Yeah, so for those that are just joining us, here with Carlos Cordova. You probably know him from the Testigo Venezuela series. I have my camera off because it's to keep a good feed, at least on my end, with the camera on. Um, so what I see as a good parallel, and you mentioned the Affordable Care Act, is that unfortunately, I mean, I think I'm glad that you mentioned it, but I think I have a different um, reason. I have a different reason why they're related. The immigration system. If you talk to people that have been trying to apply legally for a long time, I worked with a guy. He's probably 5 or 6 years younger than me, from India, and he'd been on an immigration wait list for 15 years, and he was for amnesty. He was for a lot of these immigration leniencies, and I explained to him that just like in the Affordable Care Act, when you have people that, for example, the people with pre-existing conditions, in the case of the individual market, or Medicaid recipients, what they do when you do have a private market working in parallel, they raise the costs of that health insurance. Similarly, with immigration, the more people come in here and are trying to get legal status here that have come in illegally, they do make it much more difficult for people that try to come in here legally, and that includes many professionals, from all over the world, whether it's China, India, the former Soviet Union, Europe, and Mexico. By the way, all the countries that we receive illegal immigrants from, we also receive legal immigrant applicants from as well. So, Carlos, what would you say is the key to mitigating that sort of effect, if not just these hard line stances that the president is apparently reverting to?
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you already have examples of how to kind of funnel or kind of control the amount of immigrations you have. You saw your friend that he's been in the wait list for long. For example, for me, I had to apply for a H-1B, which is kind of a high skilled professional visa, and there's a limited amount per year, right? So you got if you don't get in that year, you have to apply again the next year, and the cap is always overflown. So what happens is you have, I think, I don't know the exact number. I want to say 160,000, 60,000, 70,000 per year. What happens is after that cap, if more people apply than available spaces, then everybody gets into a pool, and then they get picked up at random. I personally don't think that's the best thing, but I'm just giving you a context of what's out there right now in the U.S. immigration system on how to control the amount of people that get into the country, immigrating into the country. So I think Trump mentioned it. I think he wanted to propose or talk about or suggest the idea of having a point system, right? So, for example, in this case, I mean, if you look at Canada, they have a point system depending if you study, if you had a master, you have more. Did high school, you have less points. So many points to get a residency or a visa or a citizenship. So it's a point system, and and there's certain things like you cannot have a felony, otherwise you deduct points, or if you get like a card, like a ticket. When you're driving, you deduct points to account. Trump, the idea, he just kind of, in those speeches he has, it's just impromptu speeches. He just thought, maybe a point system might be good. Maybe that's a good idea. I think that's something that we could look into. But what we cannot do is just completely erase it out of the blue, because the thing is, well, not passed, but it already went into effect. People already signed up. People are already working, right? Either you like it or not. I mean, people, employers employ them, right? So you cannot just come in and do done with that. I think you have to come in with a reform-like way and say, hey, I think I don't agree with this program, but I think this is how we do better. This is the proposal. So I think, I don't know, maybe a point system might be an interesting idea to talk about. A limit, a capping system. There's countries that do it by merit. So depending on how many, how many spots you have for a specific profession in the country, then you have more spots available. There's many ways we can tackle it, but it's my personal opinion here, but I don't think it's a smart idea just to do away with it.
Yeah, I think that ultimately, and I think that Trump is aware of this, and I don't think he's being as much of a dick as people are saying that he is, but I think what's going to happen is that once DACA officially expires, if Congress does not forward, a passed law to him, which, we'll get to that later, but, we're going to have to revert to dealing with a lot of these dreamers, I think they're called, on a case-by-case basis, as opposed to just grouping them by the fact that they have that status. So what that means is a lot of the people that are violating the terms of DACA are absolutely going to have to get kicked out of the country because, by default, they've already violated, the terms of his policy that doesn't even, it's not even in effect anymore. But there's also going to be people, like you said, that, they're providing essential services, where, there's a few that I understand there was one, a paramedic that died in Houston. So you can't go and just attribute them to being members of a system, which I think that's the problem with the Democratic reaction, which, I want to touch on. That I think, and this is me, and my opinions, I know yours. When you characterize people by the programs that they participate in, the government programs, you almost create an identity around a program. When in reality, we both know that, like you said, it's a presidential decree. It's not even a law. It's technically, there's video of Obama on Univision saying that he doesn't have the authority. This was before he passed or he signed the executive order. He said he doesn't have the authority to do what he ended up doing. What do you think should be the position of the Democrats as in, the opposition party going forward and crafting a solution to the crisis?
Well, they have to propose something. Not only the Democrats, but also the Republicans. They have to propose something. And now I think politically is the best time because they know that it's not going to pass. It favors them politically just to come up with something, even though it's not going to pass, but just to say in the next election, hey, I tried, this is my proposal, I have something. But it has time and time again, the Democratic Party has become an opposition party to the point of it's just irrational. To the point that you're just opposing Trump. That's all you're doing. That's all your thing. It's kind of like the Clinton campaign all over again. What do you have? Oh, I'm just anti-Trump. I'm just not Trump. It's the same thing with the Democrats right now. It's so bad that all they do is just say, well, the Republicans are so bad, and now DACA, oh my God, so bad, and they just cry me a river. Come on. Like it's kind of they have the power to propose something, to have a debate. But they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it because I actually don't know the reason why. but for their own sake, I think they should at least come up with a bill or something. Just float an idea. Have the people talking about it. But right now, it has become an identitarian discussion where, like you said, it's like, oh, you're against DACA, you're against immigration. It's ridiculous. It's not against immigration. The immigration system, everybody knows. Even the Clinton campaign knew that the immigration system was broken and needed to be fixed. So I think they could easily use this momentum, this situation, and say, okay, it's kind of like having political judo, right? So your opponent, does something, and you just take it with you, and you make it. Kind of like what Trump does a lot. He does this a lot. So you have a criticism, you make it your own, and then you propose something, in favor of yourself. Kind of like what happened to the fake news, what happened to alt-right, alt-left, all these things, all these maneuvers that actually Trump does. I think he just because of his personality, I think Democrats should learn from and say, okay, well, you're ending DACA. This is what we're proposing. This is what's on the table. And then run with it, have a national campaign or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I'm going to get to the Republicans in a second, but when those morons in Congress want Donald Trump to do something, they have a very easy solution if they have common ground, which I think, for better or for worse, I think the Republicans and Democrats have plenty of common ground on immigration. They just won't admit it.
Right.
But when they wanted to pass those sanctions on Russia, which, whether I agree or not, I think they don't do shit. They had like 99 votes in the Senate for it. Again,
Yeah.
or no, 98. I think Rand Paul and Bernie Sanders, neither of them
Yeah.
voted for it or something. And then the House, it was an overwhelming majority. So you can get a legislative veto override very easily if you want it in Congress. And that probably goes for the majority of policies. The fact is that I think that Congress, as it's been working for a long time, I don't know if I'm not a student of Congress. I don't remember when they've ever had an attitude where they're just not lazy and they want the status quo to continue. But the Republican Party,
right.
Let me get your reaction to this. The Republicans and the GOP. I was talking on Sunday with a guy, Alex. I think we spoke with you last time, but he wasn't on the air. He's a moderate Republican, and he was, using this stuff from the Cato Institute, which, the Cato Institute for me is like,
yeah,
they're basically the Hillary Clintons of libertarianism. And
that's right.
It's unfortunate. I mean, they do put out like sometimes some quality studies, but less and less so lately. And they're very pro open borders. And one of the reasons is that I was watching, I think the same day, there was this Carlos Gutierrez, who was Bush's commerce secretary, and he was saying, we're not letting enough people in, illegal immigrants, because we need more people for our workforce. And I was, what do you say to that type of attitude in terms of the Republicans?
What type of workforce? I mean, it's so open. It's an open statement. Like, there is lack of. I mean, people don't want to do the farm work. That's for sure. I mean, this was done. There's an article that came out. I think it was last year. I think December or early this year, where one of the flyover states, or just middle America, one of the farmers decided to open up jobs for citizens of the city, just legally, citizen born, or residents, and because he usually employed illegal immigrants, or there's a specific section, a specific law, a specific visa, I think the H-3 visa for agricultural, where they give a permit. It's kind of like DACA in a way, where they give a permit for a certain amount of time or a certain amount of work, and then they have to go back to their country. So basically, he opened it up. He had, I don't remember the number. He had a lot of open jobs, and a lot of people applied. He got people working, and they didn't last. They started working, and then after a week, after 5 days, they stopped coming. They couldn't take the hard job. Okay, so he was making the case. He say, hey, you want to completely prevent me from hiring illegal immigrants, but you're not giving me a choice because nobody else wants to do it, or I guess not enough people wants to do it. I even talked about this with. I was driving up from Northern California to Southern California once, and I stopped by one of these stands on. They had a plantation. I think they were doing a cilantro. I'm not sure, but anyways, you stop by and they have these carts and they have fresh fruit. You go by. I'm sure you've seen this. But anyways, it's awesome. I mean, whenever I have a chance, I just stop by because that's the best food you can get, right from the farmers. So I was talking to the guy, and he's been in California for 40 years. He's been employed a lot of people. And one of the visa programs for agriculture to get people from Mexico to work or to come out of the shadows and at least get to work, and but they have to a specific visa. They have to be registered under the government. I mean, I'm not familiar with the visa program. I'm just saying that's what he was going with. But he also had illegal immigrants. He was that were not registered, and he was saying that the article was saying he's saying, hey, I have workers here. And what happens is lately, ever since kind of the immigration, the ICE raids started, my workers are not coming back, right? And I have open positions. I've opened the job positions, and there's no, like, I don't have people applying for it. So what happens? I have to rack up the prices. I mean, I was asking him, I was buying mango. And I was saying, why is the mango so expensive right now? Like, it's just, you asking, I don't remember how much it was, but it was really, really high. I'm like, why is the mango so expensive? I mean, why are you saying the mango is so expensive? Like my workers are not coming back. I need to, if you want low prices, I need my workforce, So I think I went on a tangent there.
No, I think you brought up like a good aspect of it, which unfortunately, the meaning of what Carlos Gutierrez said was that, in my opinion, is that they need these guest workers. There's the legal guest workers, and then there's the illegal workers, because a lot of Americans are not willing to work in slaughterhouses and in orchards and in all these menial tasks. And my response to that would be, one of the reasons is that it's much easier, if you know the slaughterhouse industry in Colorado, for example, it's much easier for them to keep wraps on whatever unsafe conditions they have in those workplaces if they have people that are less likely to report them to the government. And that's, I mean, it's a give and take. I have opinions on regulations. I don't think you should have slaughterhouses, though, that are basically death traps for the workers and unhealthy and unsanitary. But basically what his appeal is, it's almost the opposite of what the Democrats is, but they'll still link arms. Their opinion is this: yeah, hiring illegal immigrants makes it easier for us to do business, and as long as there's unemployed Americans that can receive government benefits, then what does it matter? I mean, it's we get tax breaks. The middle class gets taxed for their income. That money goes to Americans that are unemployed, and then we sell them products that are made from the labor of illegal immigrants. And I think that they're perfectly fine with that system continuing the way it's always been. And that's really my view on what the Republican position on immigration is. I think it's been just a disastrous position for the common worker. But realistically, yeah, I think there's an issue of American attitude now. I mean, I have a professional degree. I have a master's degree now. I'm not going to go work in a slaughterhouse. I'm assuming that you're also like you're not in that type of field either. But there's really an issue here where I watched this show, or I don't really watch his show anymore, but he has like a lot of shares, Mike Rowe, where he's saying that the American work ethic has been kind of sabotaged over decades by an education system that doesn't value manual labor. So
yeah
yeah, go ahead.
That's totally true. And even the Workers' Party, the Democrats have left that out of their plan.
Kind of losing
talking about like go get a job and get employed. That's the way to go. And see Pelosi just boost. Okay.
Hold on. Can you stop for a second so we can restore the feed? No, you're really choppy.
Let me take
a break.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Can't see you though. Hello. Carlos?
Okay. Is it good now?
No, it's still a little choppy.
You can hear me now? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I could just hear you good.
All right, let me come back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hello? Carlos?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, you keeps fading in and out.
Hello.
Hello?
Hold on. Let me go back.
All right, while Carlos is trying to reconnect, can you guys tell me whether it's me or him that comes through unclear? Okay, he just tried to reconnect. Carlos, let me know if you can hear us, because they...
Right. It's okay. I can hear you, but I think it's my signal, okay?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, so anyways, go on.
All right, so my thoughts are this, that we kind of have this issue where both parties have they've sold out their ideals. I mean, I think the Republicans have sold out small business and you know, the workers as well, although they've never been a party of organized labor. But the Democrats have also sold out organized labor, and what we're seeing is the confluence of corporate interests here. And the other issue with you know, if you'll excuse me, the whole immigration debate, I think, is the identity politics, because I'll tell you the truth. Where I work, you know, I answer to somebody who's South American. He's like my direct boss. You know, there's plenty of people who are professionals from, you know, Latin America that come here, and they earn well. And I don't think that they share the same opinion on this debate that the Democrats would like people to believe. I think in many cases they think it's really you know, it's an issue of border security too. They're just not as militant about it as the Democrats are about their position. But you know, I think unfortunately, and you know, I don't know if you have any opinion on this, Carlos, but you could get a situation which is you know, the other extreme of the Democrats, which is that guy Carlos Gutierrez, who is he's from Cuba, and he's also pretty much a corporate shell. He's been the CEO of Kellogg's. He was Bush's commerce secretary, and he's fine with you know, these workers coming here. They live a dangerous life, you know, not just in terms of the law, but in terms of living conditions often. And and I've met people like this. I've worked in jobs not very long where I've worked with illegal immigrants, and it's not like you're. I mean, it may be a humanitarian improvement on life in Guatemala, but it's not exactly the safety that they're portraying it as being here in the United States. I was watching uh, the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, reassuring DACA residents that they're safe in his city again today. He said it before, and I couldn't help but laugh, because Chicago is one of the least safe cities in America. It's declining in terms of the economy. It says here, one of our viewers, Barbara Jagal, says that Kellogg's is laying off in Chicago. Please send me some material on that. But yeah, what do you think about that, Carlos? Do you think that there is like a middle ground between these identity politics, immigration people, and then you have like these, you know, just these corporate labor hawks?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I took my video out just in case I lose connection.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like I was. This is going into your what you're asking me, but like I was saying, the Democrats are not interested on talking about the jobs that the main like that a lot of immigrations go to, like the non skilled jobs. And when they talk about jobs, they don't talk about the plumber or the electrician, all these jobs. They talk about people that go to school and get an education and all these political talk. So we're missing a lot of people there, right? In the discourse of a political, question, we're missing a lot of people. Yeah, but I mean the take on like you said, do away with these people, and you also have the honest farmers. We have a lot in California where they need some type of system. Either the legal they take it if they. But my personal conversations with these farmers, is that if they have a system where you can supply them with labor, that legally they will totally do it. They will totally take part of that system. They're open to it. They wouldn't care about it. But like you said, I mean, there are interests in Congress and in the Senate that this huge corporation just don't give a fuck. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I can tell you, there's other players in the game that don't get talked about, because I come from a family background of people in labor, and I'm not going to go too far into that. But the American labor movement, the trade unions, almost have a vested interest in keeping the number of skilled tradesmen down in order to charge a higher price. It's a proven fact. Anybody who's listening, please Google the Davis-Bacon Act. That's why, for example, sometimes you have carpenters that are working for government contractors that are earning, $75 an hour, whatever it is. It's a huge burden on our system. It's called prevailing wage. And that's one of the reasons that we have this issue where builders, there's a lot of illegal immigrants that work in the building trades because the unions in the United States, they do want to keep these labor markets limited, and for government contracts which use E-Verify. I know somebody on the other chat, on the other live stream, was saying that people should use, employers should use E-Verify. Well, yeah, in government work, they use E-Verify. That's why the unions are happy. But it's also one of the reasons that private sector union membership has gone down very sharply over the past 50 years in the United States. We have the lowest union membership in general in the workforce. I think it's, last time I checked, it was like 11%. And yet these unions in the private sector, they continue to shrink. The unions that work for city, state, and local governments are, they're just growing more and more because they have this attitude. That's why the state of Illinois is going bankrupt, which is, that's not really relevant to illegal immigration. But, do you think that organized labor, remember that in the 70s, I don't know if this was really something that you've delved into, but the farm workers movement of Cesar Chavez, they supposedly helped gain labor rights for these migrant workers. But you can see today it's not really true. What do you think is the role of organized labor in addressing the immigration issue?
There is a Santa Clausification I see on progressive side of labor unions. I'm using the term that I think Cornel West used for MLK, Santa classification, where they say, well, labor unions are sacred. They're just sacred cows that we should never touch it. And I think you have good points where like labor unions are not necessarily all good. They're not necessarily all bad either. So, for example, we have a situation with the teachers union where they have this crazy. I'm sure you've seen the movie Rescuing Superman Rescue or something like that,
Waiting for
where
Superman.
they talk. Waiting for Superman. We talk about the 10-year rule, and once you're 10 years, they can't fire you. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, there's some union things that are just beyond me, right? You also have the unions for the private prisons where they lobby to just to keep private prisons open, basically just for their own interests, right? Even though some private prisons have fallen below certain standards, so they lobby for lower reform. Lower law. I mean, to lower the bar on the standards of private prisons, and that in turn you have lower standards, and you're paying more, right? Just like you're saying right now, where you have these labor unions trying to choke the labor market so they can get paid more. Okay, so again, those are the bad thing about labor unions, but I don't think they're all bad. I think there's good things to note about labor unions, like you said in the 70s. We have 8-hour days. I haven't read too much into it, but as I understand it, we have 8-hour days and vacation and all these things because of the labor movement. And we have also studies that say like employers that have labor unions, the satisfactions of the employees are better. Their wages are higher. The benefits are better. There is good economic benefits to having a labor union, so they should be part of the conversation. But we should also be adamant about them and say, point out what's wrong with it. There is some.
Yeah, I think it's worth it to note. I've always been like, well, I think like originally, if you really want to go back, because of the family that I come from, I was, I did support labor unions, but I think like once I turned, I want to say like 19, and started to really research it, I've really come around and opposed most, at least the American style labor unions. I think in Japan and Germany, the format is just completely different. They have more of a attitude where their outlook is towards strengthening the industry as opposed to squeezing the employers. But I think that the real issue that we're seeing is that the stance of the AFL-CIO and a lot of these other major unions is pro-illegal immigration, and it's actually directly against the interests of their own workforces. You mentioned the teachers union. If the teachers union is pro illegal immigration, you have to realize that that means in many cases overcrowded schools. If you look at some cities, Baltimore, Chicago.
Well, I don't know if they're pro legal immigration. I'm not sure. I don't know about that.
Well, usually, like most of the releases I've seen, I mean, I can go on Twitter while we're talking, but there's all these issues where over the decade, I mean, originally labor was about labor, just like the NAACP was about the CP. That's and then eventually a lot of these organizations, and it's happened with organizations in whether it's identity organizations or called civil rights groups. Now they have like just like you see with the feminist movement, just adopting positions on issues that aren't necessarily of the organization. And labor unions for sure let me see here. I got AFL-CIO here. It says, terminating DACA will make our workplaces less fair and less safe. We will push for a pathway to citizenship and continue to oppose enforcement policies that discriminate and generate fear in our workplaces and communities. Now, in my opinion, this was the president of the AFL-CIO, Richard Trumka.
Right.
The fact of the matter is that these unions, they don't, I mean, how has having DACA made any of these things safer or less discriminatory? They still complain about those things. And I think that ultimately it had to go. Just like I believe Obamacare will have to go as well. I think it's but it has to go. But you have to propose something else. You can't just do away with it. Well, I think that's where we disagree on DACA. I think I agree with you, but with Obamacare, I think that it has to be complete. And with healthcare, me and you would probably race in completely different directions. But the issue at hand with immigration is absolutely, you're right, because you still have 800,000 people at the end of the day that are in this country that there has to be a verdict as to what's going to go with them. Now, is evicting them from the country really going to solve the problem? I think it could cause some problems. So, I'm not going to say send them back, but I don't think that's what this decision is doing. I think it's saying, just like we said at the beginning, both of us mentioned it, that it's up to the Congress to solve it. If they don't solve it in 6 months, Carlos, what do you think the status is going to be? Do you think that the pressure is going to be on Trump to actually deport these people, or is he going to have to pull something out of his ass that he's like, hey, I was actually bluffing and I actually have this in mind. They can work over at Bally's Total Fitness or something.
Well, he still hasn't said that he's gonna repeal it. Okay, all we have are reports from the White House members or people saying, anonymous people, and then the Attorney General, but he himself hasn't said that. So right now we don't know if he comes out against it. I'm sorry, for repealing DACA or whatever. We have a different conversation, right? Because then, like you said, you have to pull something out and say, okay, you're gonna just repeal it, or you're gonna just reform immigration. So that's right now we're in a standstill. We haven't seen him actually take action. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I see this as a real power play because the fact is, and this is a strange position for me because I didn't start out as and I still don't consider myself committed to any one leader, but because Donald Trump is exposing the idiocy of the Republican Party, and the Democrats, let's not even talk about that, but the Republican Party is just full of people that they have almost no ideas, no initiative, and he's forcing them onto the path of action.
Right.
I think if push came to shove, if let's say hypothetically, I don't know what's that guy's name from the Democrat from what state is he? Minnesota, that Al Franken dude. If he was to come and have a proposal and say, Trump, we're gonna have this whatever it says, I think he could pull a fast one on him and say, yeah, Al Franken, come here, I'll sign your stupid bill. Fine. I think that's one of he's trying to play one of those rock paper scissors games. Right. And yeah. That's kind of the difference between. I remember President Bush was kind of this this low intelligence policy. I don't think he's an idiot. I just think that his policies are just not intelligent, and his strategies were just give into the corruption and be a part of it, and let Dick Cheney drive. And President Obama had a very similar method, and I think with Donald Trump, the strategy is just completely different. He's successful when he's adversarial. What's your opinion on that? Do you think he really does have some sort of map in his office, what to do in what situation, whatever Congress does?
I think he has some type of idea for sure. He's not dumb. He has some type of idea. I don't think he has a clear idea. It doesn't seem. I mean, the way he talks about it doesn't seem that he has a clear plan. I haven't seen the signs of a clear plan. But like you said, he does these moves of like not saying anything, letting their people talk, or like then coming out and talking about it, right? It just this like when it's interesting when he decides to come out full-fledged and when he doesn't, right? Like for example, for the Affordable Care Act, at the beginning he was very vocal, then he kind of like stepped back, let Paul Ryan and like Mitch McConnell come in and like fight it out, right? And then come out, and then he comes out again when they fail and say, well, you guys don't, you guys don't, don't do a good job, or you don't, you're trash, So he does that a lot. He just plays, he plays back and forth. So that's what he does. As far as his clear plan, I haven't seen it. I want to see. I hope he has a clear plan. I haven't seen the signs yet. So.
Well, I think like in that respect, he's he's really succeeded as somebody. Honestly, if the Republican Party were to fall apart tomorrow, I'd probably say thank you to him, because I think they've been a failure to people with pro business and free market beliefs, people that want to help small business and make and restore liberties. I think he's had failures certainly with his drug policy in that respect, but I think unfortunately the Democrats are going to have a harder time getting their own version of this Trump revolution to till the soil and get rid of clowns like Tom Perez, which there has to be like more options than one.
Right?
Yeah.
Jesus, Tom Perez, Nancy Pelosi, for God's sake. Holy moly, man. Jesus, come on.
So yeah, I think maybe let's call it a day for today.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it was a great conversation. We're talking DACA today. Let us know your thoughts. My name's Ramon. Carlos, do you want to promote anything? I mean, you don't have a site, do you?
No, I don't. So I can just say go pick up. No. Let me see. No Good Man Among the Living. If you want to read a book, that's
about Afghanistan.
Yeah, Afghanistan.
And yeah, let us know what your comments are in the chat. Do you think DACA should stay? Do you think that the illegal immigrants should stay? What do you think is the future of that program? And have a great night. I'll talk to you off air, Carlos. And this was American Gladio.